Welcome to the Sportsmemo.com NFL Week 6 opening line report. I'm Kelly in Vegas, joined today by Teddy Covers. We're going to run through each and every NFL game, talk about some line moves already early this Monday morning. Teddy, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, but the goal of this podcast has nothing to do with predicting who's going to win the game. I'm going to give you analysis on all the teams. I'm going to give you analysis on everything that happened yesterday, but the goal of this podcast is to predict line moves. So you know, can I bet this? Do I bet this on Monday morning? Do I bet this right now? Do I want to wait till later in the week? Is this the type of game we're going to bet right before kickoff next Sunday? With every game, what we'll do is we'll give you the look-ahead line. That's the bettable line from last week. We're going to use the Westgate numbers right here in Las Vegas, the Superbook numbers, or what do they call it? Superbook USA now?
Yes, at Superbook USA on Twitter.
Exactly. But we'll use the Westgate numbers. Those are, again, bettable numbers from 2 days ago that you're going to bet on this week's game. So we see how much the markets have shifted over the course of the last 24 hours. And I'll also give you my priority number on every game. So we get a sense of, this is where Teddy's number is, this is where the market numbers was, this is where the market is now. Where's this number going to go? So that's our goal. And of course, we'll start on Thursday night with the Eagles and the Giants.
All right, Philly at the Giants. As you mentioned, you're going to go over a lot of this stuff, but I'll give the line, look-ahead line was -2.5. It's now 3, even though I thought the Giants were going to sneak out a win there yesterday over the Panthers. They couldn't get it done. As you mentioned, the Vikings ended up beating the good old Philadelphia Super Bowl champion Eagles.
Yeah, sure. Look-ahead line, 2.5, -120 on Philadelphia. My power number, Eagles, also -2.5. The markets now are at 3 with Philly. Despite the fact that, the Eagles haven't played good ball now for 3 weeks. Where they covered 1 point spread all season, Philadelphia. They've not been.
Yeah, against Atlanta week 1.
Yeah. They've really been a pretty tough proposition for their backers thus far. And we saw again yesterday the type of problems that have been plaguing Carson Wentz, not just since his return, the problems that plagued him last year with the fumbles. He is a fumble-prone QB. It was a difference maker in the loss to the Vikings. But certainly, when you talk about Philly coming off a pair of losses now, even with travel to Thursday night, there's not a lot of support for the Giants in the betting markets. The Giants, they have been slowly but steadily, whatever support has been there has been getting chipped away with the Giants continue losing. They played well in Carolina yesterday offensively. Second straight good offensive week for the G-men. No surprise here if this total sitting at 45 gets bet up a notch or two over the course of the next couple of weeks, or the next couple of days, I should say.
All right, interesting line move here because the Arizona Cardinals head to Minneapolis. Look-ahead line was 11.5. It's now sitting at 10.5 over at the Westgate. Minnesota got the W. Arizona got the W. What gives here?
Yeah, my priority number, 11.5 on this game. As you mentioned, look-ahead line, 11.5. The market's sitting 10.5. That's not a huge differential. There are going to be a handful of games that do have a huge differential, but Arizona yesterday, if you look at the box score against San Fran, you say they got their asses kicked. Really, the Niners moved the ball up and down the field, but Arizona on the right side of the turnover battle. Josh Rosen playing fairly well in his first road start. Of course, when you talk about the Vikings defense, and Minnesota actually stepped up and played really good defense yesterday, something we hadn't seen from them the last couple of weeks. Buffalo lit them up, and then the Rams lit them up. And the Packers let them up before that. But we saw the type of performance from a Mike Zimmer defense that we expected yesterday. You worry about the letdown here for Arizona, but when it comes for Minnesota, I should say. But when it comes to this point spread, we're not going to see the Cardinals take a whole lot of money here. I would expect the markets will not like Josh Rosen traveling to face this caliber of defense.
All right, the Chargers head to Cleveland. Look-ahead line was 1.5, still sitting at 1.5. Chargers looked pretty good yesterday from the little bit that I watched. Cleveland ended up beating Baltimore. I thought it was the biggest trap game on the board, but everybody in the world seemed to love the Ravens. I, of course, did not bet the Browns because I don't have the guts to do that some days.
Sure. Chargers -1.5 on the look-ahead, -1.5 right now. My powering number on the Chargers, -1. But note all these numbers. They're all saying Cleveland's competitive with everybody every week, and which they have been. The Browns have played 3 overtime games already. You worry about the fatigue factor for Cleveland. Chargers cashed a big ticket for me yesterday. I thought it was a pretty easy choice to take the Chargers over the Raiders, and it was a bad spot for Oakland. Oakland played like it, and it's not like LA played great. That game was tied 3-3 late in the first half, but they made a couple of big plays, a good handful of big plays, and the Raiders did what they do, which is shoot themselves in the foot. But this line is showing us we are seeing the Browns now priced as a competitive team, and now that Cleveland's learned how to win some of these games. I mean, yesterday again, 500 things went wrong for the Browns in that game, and the kicker you replaced to get the kicker who missed the last field goal attempt, is 80 yards to the right. All kinds of issues, calls going against them. For them to grind out that win yesterday against the Ravens, we're going to see some market support for the Browns. It's already there. May well see some more this week between now and kickoff.
Man, one of the biggest line moves, and I was on the losing side of this one. Miami was laying a point at home to the Bears, now catching 3. And of course, I know we're not talking about making bets here. We're just talking about line moves. I'm probably going to be on the Dolphins here again. I must be a glutton for punishment. Teddy covers. But what gives 4 points here in this line move? I'm not sure the Bears, I know they're coming off a bye, but this seems like a little bit of overreaction.
Oh, and we're giving all kinds of opinions. This show is not about, we're not giving any opinions. I'll give you every opinion I got right now on a Monday morning. That's the beauty of the Sports Memo opening line report. As we go through every game, we give you every thought that we got on them. We don't want to waste your time. We go rapid fire. We plow through these games quickly. And the emphasis is on line moves, but it's not like, you got an opinion? Keep it to yourself. No way. Not that kind of show. But let's note the facts here. Look ahead line, Miami -1. Chicago didn't play last week. So this is a 4-point market adjustment off one team playing one game. A game, by the way, in which they led at halftime, in which they lost not because of one, but 2 defensive scores. And they were both easy defensive scores, a 20-yarder and a 19-yarder. Boom, boom. All of a sudden, instead of the win and cover for Miami, it's the loss and non-cover. Brutal for Dolphins backers, no question about it. But from a market perspective, this is a significant adjustment for Miami. And let's be very clear. The markets have had no idea what to do with the Dolphins all year. The moves, if you track Miami's moves, the market's consistently wrong wrong this week, wrong that week. They have no idea what to do with Miami. And by they, I mean we, as bettors, have had struggled. I've done all right with the Dolphins. But in general, the markets have not done particularly well with Miami this year. And coming off that type of bad beat, where, back-to-back double-digit losses where things went really, 2 really bad halves. The first half in New England, the second half in Cincy. The market love isn't there for Miami right now, and it certainly is for Chicago, a team that everybody saw before the bye week, and national TV wins. And I don't know, it wasn't a national TV win; it was the game against the Bucs. But the bottom line is, Bears have captured the betting public's attention. Your value-laden teams are not likely to include Chicago over the course of the next couple of weeks.
So one of these teams hasn't even played yet. Why? Because we're filming this on Monday morning and they play at the Saints tonight. But Redskins, look at line -1.5 over the Panthers. I see a 2 sitting steady over at Westgate. This is always intriguing to me that there's lines out before the next game has even been played. Teddy, if somebody wants to play Washington, is now the time to do it? Or is this a spot where you want to wait until after the outcome of the game tonight?
So the key about these games, and of course, with the look headlines, you can always bet the next week before the game is played. For the Monday night game, there's always lines involving both teams. Not every book has them, but many books have them, both here in Vegas and offshore. And it's real simple. All right? If you like Washington tonight, don't make one bet. Make 2 bets. Because the Redskins won't be, if they win and cover tonight, guess what? This number gets shaded in favor of Washington. If you like the Saints tonight, don't make 1 bet. Make 2 bets. Bet against the Saints tonight, and you can lay with Carolina against Washington next week. That's the concept here, is that this market isn't a mature market yet. When you can take advantage of a market that's not mature, you can get numbers that nobody else is going to get there. And that's the best, when you go to the Tuesday group meetings with all the pro bettors that I've been going to for 20 years in Vegas. Everyone talks about, I got so-and-so. They never say, I got so-and-so. I got so-and-so at +7.5. You're like, oh, how'd you get that number? And that's the way it goes around the room is, I got this number that you don't have. I got that number that you don't have. I got the other number that you don't have. Here's a chance to get numbers that people aren't going to have for the Panthers and the Redskins based on what happens tonight. My powering number going into Monday Night Football has this game priced at pick'em.
Ah, very nice. Okay, maybe another overreaction here slightly. Colts catching 1 at the New York Jets in the in the look-ahead line here. But now, Jets minus 2.5. I mean, I get it. They laid the hammer to the Broncos, so I was very happy I didn't have to sweat that one. Maybe a little bit overreaction to how good the Jets are?
This is about injuries. The look headline here was 1. My powering number is 3. Right now, the markets are splitting between 2.5 and 3. And that's going to come down to the Colts injury report. Indy was a very banged up team on Thursday night against New England. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. They had, 5 or 6 more guys get carted off the field in that game. No T.Y. Hilton, et cetera, et cetera. So I would anticipate that this line is going to move entirely based on the Colts injury report. And right now, on Monday morning, it doesn't look particularly good. Total sitting at 41.5. That might go up, given the Jets' offensive production this past weekend.
All right, next up, Pittsburgh catching 3 at the Bengals in the look-ahead line. Now, after beating the Falcons, line is sitting steady at 2.5, total of 54.5. Is everybody going to rush to bet the over with the Pittsburgh Steelers yet again?
Maybe. It got to 58 yesterday, and it wasn't pretty at the end. That's a tough beat if you had the under in that ball game. But if you're betting Steelers games or Falcons games under right now, you're going to have more than your share of tough beats. 2 teams that are much better offensively than defensively at this stage of the season. Although the Steelers defense played a good game yesterday, which is something we haven't seen from Pittsburgh. And obviously the offense got to 41. That's a good sign. A look headline here was Cincy minus 3. My powering number, Cincy minus 3.5. The markets at 2.5. And look, I'll be honest, I've been bouncing my Pittsburgh number up and down. And because my market says Cincy, my number is Cincy 3.5, the markets are 2.5. Clearly, it's not a Cincy question. It's where do we price the Steelers right now? And even with the win yesterday for Pittsburgh against a defense that is really banged up in Atlanta, missing multiple Pro Bowlers, and we've seen all of that. Different animal here as they travel to Cincinnati, do it on the road, and do it against a better defense than the one that they face. So where's the market moving on this one? The Steelers when the Steelers win, they take money. And everyone's go, oh, Cincy 2 pick sixes, 4-1, they're a fraud, yada, yada, yada. No surprise here if we see Steelers money, because why? Why, Kelly? Because they looked good last week.
Yep, everybody always has a good short-term memory, and sometimes it's probably better that way. Speaking of short-term memories, the Falcons, as you mentioned, got smoked by the Steelers. Look-ahead line in this one was 6.5. Bucks coming off a bye. Now the line's sitting steady at 3.5 plus 100 over at the Westgate.
Yeah, and again, this isn't both teams playing. This is one team playing one game, resulting in basically a 3-point line. Atlanta didn't lose any more guys to injuries yesterday. They didn't lose any more key defenders to injury. They just played a bad game. And they did. They played an awful game. It wasn't right from the get-go. Now 1-4, the Falcons, I mean, if ever it was circle of wagons time, it's right now for Atlanta. Of course, the markets aren't sold. They're going to be able to circle the wagons. And Tampa also coming off a bye and also coming off an ugly blowout loss. And in general, the markets tend to like a team off an ugly loss and then a bye. They have spent the next 2 weeks hearing everyone tell them how much they stink, and they tend to come out and play pretty well in that following game. So where do we anticipate the money coming here? I anticipate Tampa money. They're going to want this team even after that debacle they had in Chicago. And we've already seen it with the markets, as you mentioned, a full 3-point move off of last week's showing.
Do you think it matters whether it's Fitzpatrick or Jameis? It sounds like Fitzpatrick lost his starting job. So does Jameis hold any weight to this line move either?
So it's an interesting question, what the markets do with Winston versus Fitzpatrick. And I would make an adjustment personally. I think Winston is the better quarterback. I think that would show. And he certainly throws fewer jump balls and has more ability. Fitzpatrick throws a lot of balls into traffic. All right, you guys go get one.
That is very true. He definitely, and even after an interception, he still goes back for it. I'm sure. God, dude, you got some guts. I don't.
Well, you want a QB that takes shots, at the same, and it's not like Winston doesn't take shots. It just seems like he doesn't throw as many picks. Anyhow, with the markets adjust, I would expect a slight adjustment, a point or less between Winston and Beard Boy
Beard boy Ryan Fitzmagic that has fizzled out and is not magic any longer. All right, the Seahawks and the Raiders both travel across the pond, playing in London. This look-ahead line was a pick'em. Now Seattle -3, and it makes sense. Seattle played a really good Rams team yesterday, kept it down to the wire. I was happy with that one. And like as we mentioned before, the Raiders, just a really bad spot for them versus the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, really bad spot. They're a really bad team.
Also that.
Look at line here, as you mentioned, was pick 'em. My powering number is Seahawks -2.5. The market's 2.5 or 3 on Seattle. And look, you want an emergency betting alert on a Monday morning? Here you go. If you like the Seahawks, lay the 2.5 now. I don't think this holds. I think Seattle will go as 3-point favorites here. And I don't, I mean, the only win the Raiders have this year was a game where literally the refs are like, here, you guys take it. Cleveland deserves this win. You guys, yeah. We're going to do everything we can to screw the Browns. And I was glad they got it. They cashed a winning bet for me. But, Oakland away from home has been ugly. Oakland, there are issues with the Raiders, all right? And it's not just Gruden and Carr. Defensively, this is a team that lacks playmakers, and that's not necessarily good news when you're going across the pond and playing a Seahawks offense that they found a way to run the football yesterday. That's a big positive sign for Seattle. The markets will recognize that. The Seahawks will take money, and the 2.5 are getting gobbled up as we speak. So I try to do at least one emergency betting alert every week. This is it. This line's going to 3. Grab the 2.5 now while you still can, if you like the Seahawks side of the equation. If you like Oakland, I think they bounce back here. Wait, no rush. You'll get a 3. You may even get better than that as the week progresses.
All right, Buffalo at Houston. The look-ahead line was Houston -8. This line is off the board here in Las Vegas, but I did see an 8.5 offshore. Teddy, the Houston Texans did escape with a win last night in overtime over the Dallas Cowboys. The Bills got a nice W over the Titans.
Yeah, break up the Bills. Some of that had to do with Tennessee playing somewhat lethargic football, but let's give Buffalo's defense some credit. And while Josh Allen still can't throw the football, the fact they're able to get, 3, 4, 5 yards and him rumbling around the backfield and making plays and scoring touchdowns, this Bills team has been a money maker since that 0-2 start. As you mentioned, the look headline here was 8. My powering number is 8.5. BOL is the only book that I see that has a number up now at 8.5, and I would anticipate that we'll see something in that range. Of course, as we record very early Monday morning, the market's not mature on this game, so be aware. Where's the money going to come? This line's going to bounce. It's not going to 10. It's not going down to 7. It'll be in that middle range all weekend long. So note, some books are going to price 7.5, 8. Some books hate the 8 because of the teaser issues. They will go to 9. There's very little difference between 8 and 9 in an NFL wager. So adjust the juice, but don't be fooled like that's a move that means something. A move from 2.5 to 3.5 move means something. A move to 8 to 9, a book will do it on air.
All right.
Especially in those teaser protection range, because the favorites, the wise guys love teasing those 8, 8.5, 9-point favorites down under a touchdown, field goal, I should say.
All right. Another interesting one here that I have already bet, which I probably should have waited to talk to you, but I jumped the gun last night. Look ahead line was Rams -6 at Mile High versus Denver. The line now is 7, so I gobbled up that 7 as soon as I saw it. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think this Broncos team plays a lot better in Mile High, and I think this is a very good Rams team, and I'm not discarding it, but back-to-back road games here. I'm kind of playing a more situational game versus a numbers game.
Sure, and taking the +7 with Denver right now, I wouldn't argue against that. When the look ahead line 6 and it comes 7, you grab the 7, you don't think about it. My power rating number here is only 5, and I've got the Rams power rated as the best team in the NFL. So that tells you where, how high the markets have LA right now. And for as good as the Rams offense has been, I mean, look at their defense the last 2 weeks. They've been lit up, and I mean really lit up, and not necessarily by the best offenses in the NFL either. The pass rush is there, but they got gashed on the ground. They're giving up big plays galore through the air. That's a concern. Denver in theory is supposed to be circle the wagon. Remember last year they got up to that nice start and they lost 8 in a row. Well, here they are 2-0 this year. Now they've lost their last 3. But the more I watch the Broncos, the less impressed I am with John Elway. And the way that roster is made up. It's
Yeah.
not a good roster.
No, I agree.
It's all over the place.
As a Broncos fan who took the Jets last week, I tweeted this. I said, who is worse at picking quarterbacks, John Elway or Bill Snyder? Somebody tell me who's worse because I'm not sure. And I think the answer is John Elway. He is terrible.
Elway traded up into the first round to get some guy named Tebow. And he won a playoff game with them, so we'll give him credit.
He did. You're right, he did. And that's about it. Besides picking up Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you remember what happened the next week in New England after Tebow won that playoff game? It wasn't pretty. Bottom line for the Broncos at 7 right now. Denver has I'm not going to say they play better at home. They play worse on the road. Go back and look at the Broncos on the road in the Vance Joseph era.
It's terrible. That's exactly why I took the Jets -1. I didn't care. I played it. Yeah. It is so fadeable. They are so fadeable on the road.
Which means that in theory they play, but if this game turns into a shootout, I mean, Denver can't trade points with LA. That's a concern here. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the total get bet up. And yet the early money, we've seen some under. So if it gets bet up, it may not get bet up a whole lot. But my handicap says this game should be relatively high scoring. The Rams are going to continue putting up 4 or 5 touchdowns every week. And defensively, they've got all kinds of problems in their secondary.
All right, it was a rough Sunday for this team. Jacksonville, look ahead line -2.5 at the Dallas Cowboys. We're seeing a 3 +100 over at the Westgate right now. I don't know what to make of either team. I knew that I was on the wrong side with the Jags yesterday morning, and I sat there and did nothing about it. But that's okay. I did not take the Cowboys. I thought about it. Wouldn't have probably mattered. It was probably end up on a push unless you got the 3.5. I don't want any part of this game, but numbers-wise, Teddy, what are you thinking?
I graded the Texans as 3.5 and the Cowboys, in terms of like how I grade the games at the end. But the bottom line for Jacksonville and Dallas, look headline was 2.5. My powering number is Jags -1.5 at Dallas. The market's right now at 2.5, showing signs they could move to 3. I wouldn't be shocked if they do. Look at Jacksonville off a loss the last couple of years. I mean, they've been really good off a loss. And again, I mean, they didn't play well yesterday at KC. KC can do that to teams. But on the other hand, I mean, Dallas, the red zone defense is there. Defensively, Dallas is there right now, and I'm very impressed with that defense. The issue, obviously, is they can't score in the red zone on offense, and they lack playmakers for Dak Prescott to throw the ball to. But when you're looking at where this number is going to go, geez, I'm not sure. And a lot of times I am. I would expect, I think it's more likely that it goes to Jags -3 than to Dallas -2. So I'd be more inclined to lay the 2.5 right now with Jacksonville. But am I saying this has got to go to 3? No, it doesn't. It's interesting game to handicap. It's one game I'm going to be thinking about over the course of the week. I certainly have an initial lean towards the Jaguars. All
right, both of these teams lost yesterday. Baltimore look-ahead line was -1 at the Titans. Now Baltimore -2.5. I'm not sure why the 1.5 line moved. Maybe, Teddy, you can give me some insight.
Because the markets don't like Tennessee.
They haven't, though.
Yeah. I mean, number one, the market's like a Harbaugh off a loss. They're like Baltimore off a poorly played loss. And the Ravens offense has stunk it up the last, 6-7 quarters. They haven't scored a touchdown. They had that big first half 2 weeks ago, and then that's it. They moved the ball in the second half. Flacco looked like the Flacco that they drafted Lamar Jackson to replace against Cleveland. Defensively, they were there all game, and we give them credit. But we're also seeing the teams off the overtime affairs, particularly the overtime losses, really struggle the next week, especially when they hit the highway. So I don't know that this line, even though you're like, oh, it should get to 3, it should get to 3. I don't know if it's going to get to 3. Again, the look-ahead line here was only Baltimore -1. My powering numbers pick them. And much of the Ravens' early season success has to do with their red zone execution, which has been phenomenal. Tennessee's red zone defense has been phenomenal as well. I believe it's the best in the NFL so far. So it's certainly, a situation where Vrabel's squad is not a lock to be bet against this week. I would 2.5 feels about right. I don't know that one goes to 3.
All right. So one game I'm really excited to watch. I don't know if I'm excited to bet. Kansas City catching
over.
What?
Just bet the over.
Oh, right. Kansas City was catching 3 in the look-ahead line at the Patriots. Now you can get a 3.5. Teddy, I feel like this game is like last week with Baltimore laying 3 on the road at the Browns. It screams trap. Whether we believe in trap games or not in our industry, I totally do. And I'm probably going to bet the Patriots here, but now it's a 3.5. It's got me a little nervous.
My party number is New England 4. Look at 3 minus 20. Let's talk about both these. Okay, so very positive signs for Kansas City. Their defense showed up yesterday, and it showed up in a big way. They got pressure. They got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. They got sacks. They got interceptions. If the Chiefs have a defense, they're scary. This offense isn't going anywhere. And again, it was Blake Bortles. It was at home, all of that. But it's a very big difference between Blake Bortles at home and Tom Brady in Foxborough under the lights. No question. But there were positive signs from Kansas City's defense. As for New England, extra time to prepare. They played Thursday night. We like Belichick with extra time to prepare. The 2 wins they've had over the last 2 weeks have me saying that this team's a little bit overvalued right now. The first win, they got Miami. Miami implodes. We saw that again yesterday. Dolphins are not the 3-0. They were 3-0 when they went there. They're not a 3-0 team. Miami, if they go 8-8 this year, we'll all be happy and catch our Dolphins over tickets. They're not elite. And then we saw again this week where they got Indy and they blew them out. But Indy's, injuries up the wazoo. KC, this offense is a different animal. At 58.5, this total can only go up. Now, the markets aren't going to let the total go up a whole lot. But in terms of games where you say this is going to be a shootout, I've never seen an NFL game hit 60. I can't think. Have you seen an NFL game hit 60?
No, you're right. Now that you say that, that's why I kind of wow, you're right. I've never seen it hit 60.
This one has the potential to be the first NFL game to go off ever in the history of the NFL with a total of 60. That's where the Chiefs are in the markets right now. And certainly one thinks that Tom Brady and company, after they played the last couple of weeks and with Edelman and with Gordon and all of that, there'll be a fair bit of love for New England's ability to score points. And last but not least on this game, I know I'm all rambling, but the Chiefs were again out-yarded yesterday. And all the stat gurus keep on telling me, Kansas City stinks, man. Kansas City, though, they're totally overrated because they're looking at the stats. So the math model guys are not going to be on the Chiefs, and they're continuing to not be on the Chiefs because the math models say Kansas City's defense and their stats aren't very good. You want to have fun? Go back and look at Andy Reid the last 10 years. He's not a stat coach. The stats are never good. And I've got, you understand what I'm talking about. The bottom line is the analytics marketplace will not like Kansas City. The analytics guys control the betting markets. That's why we're more likely to see New England money than we are to see Kansas City.
All right, last but not least, Monday Night Football. The Packers lose. Well, look at line 8.5. The Packers lose to the Lions, now 9.5 in Green Bay versus the 49ers, who probably this is more of they lost to the horrible, worst team ever, Cardinals, that everybody's overreacting to. Westgate sitting at 9.5 in this one. Teddy, if you want to bet the 49ers, is this a game you want to wait on?
8.5 to look ahead. My party number is 10. I would anticipate that this line is going to close 10 or higher. So if you like San Fran, take your time. No rush. You're not going to see the markets fall in love with the 49ers between now and next week. We saw money pouring in on Arizona. They said, and money poured in against the Packers as well. There's a little bit of pro-Detroit in that, I'm sure. This isn't that type of spot. We got Green Bay off a poorly played loss at home against a team with a backup quarterback and a team that got blown off their home. I mean, again, but the 49ers moved the ball up and down the field yesterday. Their defense shut down Arizona throughout, but the red zone execution wasn't there, and the turnovers were a nightmare for San Francisco. -5 in yesterday's ballgame. They couldn't turn Josh Rosen over. But we know what happens on Monday Night Football. All right. Who's going to get involved? Everybody's going to tell us how much better Aaron Rodgers is than C.J. Beathard. And you would anticipate, certainly at the books that cater to recreational bettors, which are the majority of books. But the books that cater to the public, this line will go off at 10 or higher. If you like the Packers. You want to bet them now. We can still find 9.5s out there in the betting marketplace.
Awesome stuff from Teddy Covers. Make sure you guys head over to sportsmemo.com. Check out all of the great information they have over there. Teddy, any final thing to say to our viewers?
I thought we were supposed to give them an offer.
Oh, what is your offer?
I don't know. I thought you were going to have one.
Oh, good grief. I got an email from Johnny Detroit that said, we're going to do this offer, and I thought Teddy had it teed up. Teddy, let's make up an offer. I'll text it over to Johnny. We'll give out some discounts.
I don't know what to do. I feel like we should give that. We were talking NFL. Let's give them the NFL.
Perfect. What do you have right now for a package for the NFL for this week?
I've got nothing. Monday morning. I haven't put anything up yet.
All right, let's do this. We're gonna piggyback off of what a couple of our other constituents do. We're gonna call